I am sending you out like sheep among the wolves. Therefore be shrewd as snakes and innocent as doves. Be on your guard against men. They will hand you over to the local councils and flog you in their synagogues. On my account, you will be brought before governors and kings as witnesses to them and to the Gentiles. But when they arrest you, do not worry about what to say or how to say it. At that time you will be given what to say. For it will not be you speaking, but the Spirit of your Father speaking through you. Brother will betray brother to death, and a father his child. Children will rebel against their parents and have them put to death. All men will hate you because of me, but he who stands firm to the end will be saved. When you are persecuted in one place, flee to another. I tell you the truth, you will not finish going through the cities of Israel before the Son of Man comes. A student is not above his teacher, nor a servant above his master. It is enough for the student to be like his teacher, and the servant to be like his master. If the head of the house has been called Beelzebub, how much more the members of his household? So do not be afraid of them. There is nothing concealed that will not be disclosed, or hidden that will not be made known. What I tell you in the dark, speak in the daylight. What is whispered in your ear, proclaim from the roofs. Do not be afraid of those who kill the body, but cannot kill the soul. Rather be afraid of the one who can destroy both soul and body in hell. Are not 2 sparrows sold for a penny? Yet not one of them will fall to the ground apart from the will of your Father. And even the very hairs of your head are all numbered. So don't be afraid. You are worth more than many sparrows. Whoever acknowledges me before men, I will also acknowledge before my Father in heaven. But whoever disowns me before men, I will disown him before my Father.
Almighty God, pray now that your Spirit would come upon us. Lord, may you enlighten our minds, bring love to our heart. May we bring honor and glory to you. Lord, I pray now that you would anoint my lips and anoint all of our hearts. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. Well, I want to thank everyone here for allowing some stranger to come up to your pulpit and just speak. You never know what somebody's going to say. So thank you, and thank you to Mother Travis for so much trust. She knew that I was going to do such a good job, she decided not to show up today. or maybe she thought, maybe if these people can deal with them, maybe I'll deal with them next week. But no, thank you so much for having me out. It's interesting, the first time I came to All Saints, it reminded me of a church plant that I was helping a friend with a couple of years ago. My friend had invited me to be the leader of the evangelism at this church plant. And one of the biggest events in our neighborhood is the annual cookie ball. It's huge. Thousands of people come to our neighborhood every year for this cookie ball. All those shops and boutiques come together at a local hall, and there's everything there. Everything from chocolate chip cookies for sale, to these French pastries, to English chess tarts, anything you can think of, breads of all sorts. And
where is this?
Pittsburgh, I'll tell you what, it's worth the drive. There's stuff there that you will not find anywhere else. And people are willing to spend huge dollars for food. Well, my wife is a baker, and she can make these beautifully adorned cake pops. And as the evangelist, I thought, this is a great idea. We will take the cake pops, we'll tie a ribbon around the plastic part, and for those who aren't familiar with cake pops, by the way, they're delicious. They're cake mixed with icing, rolled into a ball on a lollipop stick, covered with more icing and sprinkles, and they're delicious. And they're fat-free and calorie-free, so you're wonderful. We would tie a ribbon around these cake pops, put the church information, the website, the service times, and we would purchase a booth and give these things out for free. I mean, this is a win-win situation for everybody. We get our church information out, and you get a free cake pop. I mean, who doesn't want a free, delicious cake pop? Well, the day of the event came. You know what the odd thing was? Most people were very skeptical to take a free cake pop. They would look at us cross-eyed. What are you doing giving away free stuff at the cookie mall? Don't you know you're supposed to sell these things? No, Now, of course, it was free, so they took it, but, what's the deal here? Most people were very reluctant to take something for free. They assumed that there was some sort of string attached. Well, one woman very specifically was particularly standoffish towards the whole idea. This what looked like a very sweet old woman just kind of was, what are you doing? Well, when she asked why we were giving away the cake pops for free, I was very upfront with her. I said, my friend over here is starting a new church, and all of our information is here on the tag. We'd love it if you visit our website. Even more, we'd love it if you come on a Sunday and join us for worship. But you know what? Here's a free cake pop. You don't have to, you can do whatever you want with the tag. Well, that sweet little old woman stood there and looked at me. And what seemed like an eternity, it was probably no more than 10 or 15 seconds, she began to talk. And out of her mouth came the most colorful, profane words you've ever heard. She yelled at me up and down, grilled me back and forth. How dare you bring your Jesus to this event? This isn't a Christian event. This is a community event. And after a while, I just let it go on. She was old and sweet, and well, not so sweet now, but I wasn't going to talk back. And I thought, okay, I need to go have a seat. So I went back to the booth, and I looked at the people next to me. And you know what? They looked at me, and I thought I'd get a little bit of sympathy. They said, she's right. We don't know exactly what you're doing. This isn't supposed to be a Christian thing. Churches are for that. I was half tempted then to ask them, why, if this is not a Christian event, is there a Christmas tree in the middle of all the booths? Why they're playing Christmas music in the background, and why one of the saints from the church was going to visit the children later on that day and ask them what presents they wanted for Christmas, if it wasn't a Christian event at all. But I kept my cool. I thought twice. Because our intention for that day was to do something nice. Our intention was to share the gospel in the friendliest way we could think of. But even when you sugarcoat the gospel, quite literally, it's still offensive. In our gospel lesson this morning, something very similar is taking place. Jesus is giving a warning to his disciples that those who even have the best intention, those who sugarcoat their gospel, those who smile when they proclaim the gospel, they will get pushback. It will be offensive. It doesn't matter how well you intend to preach it. It doesn't matter how genuine you are. People will be offended. People will become defensive. But the whole point of the discourse here, the whole main point that Jesus is talking to us this morning, isn't even just a warning. It's actually a command. He's giving us instructions. And if you look at verse 16, it starts with that. He says, go. His instructions are really go. That's the main point. And so that's what we want to look at a little bit this morning. And we want to look at three things. We want to look at who Jesus is telling to go. Then we want to look at what happens when we go. And finally, Jesus is going to share with us how we have the confidence to go. For those of you who were here last week, you'll remember Father Jim preached on Matthew 28 and the Great Commission. Well, we're going to backpedal a little bit to Matthew 10 and Jesus' first commission. So there's a little bit of a connection, but we're going backwards. And Jesus says, behold, I am sending you out. It's not a very long sentence, but everything else hinges upon those words. Everything before and everything after. Behold, I am sending you out. It's important to know what had kind of led up to this point. So if you would spend the afternoon reading chapters 1 through 9, which I know all you dear saints will do, you'll see that Jesus, up until chapter 9, had been doing his own public ministry. And at the end of chapter 9, we see the motivation for Jesus' ministry. Matthew records that when Jesus looked out into the crowds, he had a heart filled with compassion for the people. A heart filled with compassion. And in that compassion, Jesus had been proclaiming the gospel message. He had been healing the sick. He had been reconciling the outcasts. He had been preaching restoration between the people of God and the Father. Well, Jesus knew he was only one person. As the incarnate Son, he could only do so much. And so he looked out into his followers and he said, I want you all to join me in my ministry. I want you all to go out and do the very things that I've been doing. I want you to heal the sick. I want you to reconcile the outcast. And I want you to proclaim the gospel. In our lesson, Matthew says that he sent out the 12 disciples. And if you would read Luke's version of the story, he sends out 72. And that seems like a contradiction, but it's not. Here's what's happening. They're both trying to make the same point. Matthew is a Jewish writer, and he's using the number 12 because that's important for Jewish folk. Because the number 12 corresponds to the 12 tribes of Israel. Matthew's point, he's saying, Jesus sent out enough people to go out to all the land, to all of Israel. That this message wasn't a Galilean message, it wasn't a Judean message, it was a message for all of Israel. In fact, when they were done with all of Israel, they were to go to the Gentiles. Luke records the number 72. And Luke's a Greek writer. So he's using a different number. He says it's 72. And what he's using is a Greek numerical hyperbole. That's a fancy word, isn't it? That's just a way of saying he exaggerated the number. Like I would say, it cost me $100 to fill up my little Mitsubishi Lancer with gas. You guys get the point. It's a lot of money. Did it really cost me $100? No. But it's a lot. Or we might say that there were 1,000 people at church on Sunday. Were there 1,000? No, but we mean the whole place was filled and everyone was there. Or we might say that the federal government is stealing billions of dollars from taxpayers. That might not be an exaggeration. So, but you get the point. Both Gospels are trying to say Jesus took all of his followers and sent them down to all the lands. And most commentators and most scholars suggest or say and agree that this wasn't just for them. That the fact that Jesus sent out all of his followers means that every follower from that point forward is to follow this command. Every follower is sent out. Behold, I send you out. As Christians, you and I are blessed people. We're blessed and we're chosen. But Jesus says, hey, I don't want you just to hold on to that. I don't want that just to be your thing. I blessed you so that you can bless others. I'm blessing you. I'm giving you a gift so that you can then go out and tell people about that gift and give it to them. And that's the biblical pattern, right? From the beginning, look at Noah. God saves Noah after the floods reside. He says, now go out. Go out into the world, populate it again. God does it with Noah. God blesses with Abraham. And God blesses Abraham and says, now go into the land so that I can bless other people. He does it with the nation of Israel. I bless you so you can bless other nations. So we see this again. In the New Testament, God chooses us so that all of us can then be sent out. Behold, I am sending you out. There are some needs that only you can meet. There are some hands that only you can hold, and there are some demons that only you can cast out. You might be the only church that some people experience. You might be the only reflection of Christ that some people see. Who is to share in the ministry? Who is to go? Everyone. Every follower. Now, could you imagine being there that morning? Could you imagine the excitement being built up? Here you are. You're probably a former fisherman or a tax collector or whatever you were. But you left your job, you left your family to follow this very unique rabbi, this Jesus fellow. And you've been joining him, listening to his sermons, watching him perform miracles. You've been there at the feeding of the 5,000 maybe, and you've seen him heal people, and you're certainly there for the Sermon on the Mount. And now Jesus says, I want you to join me. That's got to be exciting, like a roller coaster ride. You're building up. You want me to join your ministry? That's exciting news. That's great. No, I'm no longer just a student. I'm joining. I'm a partner with this new rabbi. This is exciting news. But Jesus says, now slow down. You're getting excited. You're pressing the peak, but I got to warn you. This ride has a big plunge at the end. And some of you, that might be scary. Some of you might be intimidated. Now we would think, with such good news, with all the miracles being performed, with all of the wonderful things, that the message of the gospel, that the kingdom proclamation would be warmly accepted. But Jesus says, no. Look at my life. Look what's been happening to me. If they've accused me of being a devil, then they'll accuse you. No student is above his teacher. No servant is above his master. If they do this to me, then they will do this to you. If they're offended by my message, they'll be offended by the same message you proclaim. He says in verse 22, everyone will hate you. Everyone. Does that mean everyone? Again, no. But what the point is, he says that the offense of the gospel is so pervasive that no one is off limits here. Your family can hate you. The government can hate you. They can do physical harm to you. They can cast you out from the family. For most of us here, this is foreign stuff. I don't know if any of you have ever suffered physical harm for the gospel. I sure haven't. The worst I got was that old lady, and that wasn't too bad. I don't know if anybody here knows anybody who's been martyred for the faith. And I don't know if any of us will. But you know what? Even in the most civilized society, even in one of the most tolerant societies, the gospel is still offensive. I think that if I were paraphrasing this verse 16, I would say, behold, I am sending you out, not to the midst of wolves, but behold, I'm sending you out to the civilized wolves. They're civilized. They're tolerant, quote unquote. But you know what? They're still wolves. The gospel is still offensive. Perhaps your friends will belittle you. Perhaps your neighbors will misunderstand you and talk about you behind your back. Maybe your family will deride you. Maybe you'll be skipped over for a job or a promotion because of your moral values. Maybe your house will be vandalized for your paraphernalia, your Christian adornments. I know I had a friend whose car bumper was kicked in because of a pro-life sticker. The gospel is offensive. So who's with me? Okay, good. Well, I got this, but Jesus, come on. This is a hard message to preach. I've got to put a smile on somebody's face here today. So I looked and I thought, you know what? This isn't just a warning. This is a manual. So lastly, Jesus doesn't just leave us hanging like, hey guys, welcome to the club. Now it's going to be bad. He says, no, I'm sending you out as sheep to the wolves. But listen, here's some practical ways that you can get through this. Here's how you can have confidence to share the gospel. Verse 16, one more time. He says, when you go out, I want you to be as wise as serpents. Excuse me, Jesus? Serpents? Yes, serpents. But I want you to stay as innocent as a dove. I want you to be wise and cunning. I want you to think about what you're doing. But I want you to remain as innocent as a dove. The offense will happen on its own. We don't have to go looking to stir up trouble. I couldn't think of any good examples of how this is done, but I could think of a million ways this is badly done. And one of the best ways are the Westboro Baptist people. I don't like to pick on people in the pulpit. They make it so easy. I mean, they've said on live TV, we look to offend people because it stirs their hearts. And their language, well, let's be honest, it's less than innocent. Jesus says, no, that's not sharing in my ministry. That's not the gospel. My gospel is wise. My gospel is bold, but it's also innocent. Second, he says, flee. One time I had this friend who was inspired by the movie Through the End of a Spear, which is about some missionaries who go to South America to proclaim the gospel. And they end up dying. And my friend had this great idea. I'm going to go to the worst part of Pittsburgh and proclaim the gospel to all those drug dealers and prostitutes and gang members, and that neighborhood's going to turn around, or I'm going to die trying. Well, luckily, he had a smart friend. It wasn't me. He said, when they persecute you in one town, go to the next. There's nothing wrong with proclaiming the gospel boldly and then moving to the next town. Sometimes persecution seems like the Christ-like thing to do, or the Paul-like thing to do. But Jesus fled. Paul fled. Peter fled. They all fled until the end of their ministry, until God said, now it's time to come home. There's nothing wrong with proclaiming the gospel, facing hostility, and moving on to the next person. And lastly, he says, do not fear. Do not fear. Do you know what the most repeated command in the Bible is? Well, now you do. Do not fear. Why, Jesus? Because God will protect us. Why, Jesus? Because one day we'll be vindicated. Well, not exactly. Because one day there's coming a time when all of our secret will be revealed. everything in our heart will be revealed. Some of you are shaking your heads. I'm glad that you get that, because the first time I read that, I thought, that's not good news, Jesus. That's actually another problem. I don't want my secrets revealed. Where are you? How does that does that give you confidence? Not me, thank you very much. So I had to think very hard about this. Jesus, what do you get? How does that make me feel bold? So after about 20 minutes, I got tired. I went on Facebook. And I saw a picture of a friend, and it reminded me of a story. So the Holy Spirit works through Facebook. My friend had this crush in middle school on this girl, and we used to antagonize him. And every day we try to get him to go tell the girl that he likes, that he loves her. And one day a group of us guys decided to get a girl to call him and pretend to be the crush. And yes, I was a sinner saved by grace. And so we had the girl pretend to be her, and after she got done telling him how she felt, he, in beautiful middle school poetic prose, gave her words of adoration and adornment, and oh, I love you, you are the love of my life. And after he's done, there was just silence on the speakerphone, and then howling. Yes, I said, sinner saved by grace. But you know what? That Monday, my friend figured the damage is done. There's no way that my friends are going to stay quiet. This girl is eventually going to know how I feel. The secret's out. So he went up to that girl, and he told her how he felt. And guess what? I saw on Facebook they got married. So it turned out well for him. Yeah, good news. Maybe that's the confidence that Jesus is speaking about. The kind that my friend had. It's hey, there's coming a day when your faith, what's really on your heart will be out there. Your friends, your family, your neighbors, people out there in the world, they might call you a bigot. They might call you a hypocrite. They might say you're ignorant. But there's coming a day when it will be revealed that your heart was truly loyal to the true King and Messiah. So there's no sense in being quiet about it. There's no sense in being ashamed. There's coming a day when all of our hearts, all of our motivations will be revealed. When our motivation for the people will be revealed. Jesus says, and don't be afraid because God cares about you. Don't be afraid because God loves you. He watches over His creation. But He adds a qualifications. He says, are you guys ready for this? Because I'm sending you out. And those of you who are ready to be sent out, I will acknowledge you before my Father. If you're sold out for God, He's sold out for you. Following in the footsteps of Jesus can be scary business. And as I said, if Jesus were a salesman, He would be terrible. He's just too honest at the high cost. But He's also honest about the benefits, the eternal benefits. He says it's worth it. Following me is scary and it's tough, but it's worth it. That day after the cookie mall, I was feeling pretty low, and we were wondering if we did the right thing, but we were really vindicated that following Sunday when 10 new families showed up. That was yes. Yeah, we were hurt temporarily. We were scorned, but behold, God sent us out. We got to see the reward. We might face different crises than the disciples and the early church, but we still face crisis. We still have a gospel that offends people. All Christians are to live lives of confession, though. All Christians are sent out. The question is, have we been living our lives being sent out ones? Have we been doers or consumers? If you could sit here and say, Chase, I haven't been a doer. I haven't been a sent out one. Then behold, today God is sending you out. Amen. Amen.